we didn't ask you about ODU here the other night, but probably had some chance to start working on them at this point. What kind of have you seen of them, especially since they started playing a little better in conference play than they did early in the season?
Yeah, they're catching their stride at the right time, and they've got some really good wins. They're a disruptive bunch, is what they are, and I think they're doing a great job of really playing to their identity, and they're playing with great toughness right now. Number one offensive rebounding team in our league. That is an incredible strength of theirs. I have never seen a team go to the offensive glass with the consistency, intensity, and the amount of people that they send to it. And so that's going to be a great challenge, and it's going to really challenge our toughness. And then on the same side, defensively, they do a nice job, very similar to Marshall, to where they're going to be, being disruptive, do a lot of switching, try to take you out of what you want to do. So you got to be very strategic as to how you attack it. But I think they're playing well. Obviously, they fell short over the past weekend, and this is a big game. It's a big game for everybody, right? It means a lot to both of our programs being a rivalry, and certainly they coming off of or them coming off of 2 home losses, and then us coming off the App State loss. It's going to mean a lot to both teams, just with where we're at within the midst of our seasons.
Yeah, and you talk about the rivalry aspect of it, and I think these 2 games in a row are probably, at least for the fans, the biggest rivals around here. How much do you guys, having a lot of people who haven't been on campus that long, I know X likes to talk about App State and everything, but how much are they kind of understanding what the fans think and what the rivalries mean?
We try not to draw just too much attention to it, right? I think and each team's different, right? I think for us, our focus needs to be on ourselves and our mistakes, and playing the best that we can play and minimizing those mistakes. And so we try to be careful not to cloud their minds too much by magnifying things, with who the opponent is. But at the same time, you want to be respectful to the rivalry, because it is meaningful. It does mean something to the alums and to the fans, and it should mean something to us as well. So it's a balance, right? I think it's using that as a motivator to really hit home on details and aspects and nuances of the game that are going to help us win, right? Not trying to make it too emotional or anything like that, but it's certainly a big game, and that's what you want to be a part of in college basketball. It's fun to be at a place where rivalries matter. That's something that is important within our sport. Certainly, when you've got an in-state rivalry with a long-standing tradition like our 2 programs have, then it's a very meaningful game.
And you mentioned their rebounding, and Sean Duro-Garden's been really good for them on that. I know Elijah played with him in the past. Has he had anything to say about him, or anything that he knows about him that maybe will help?
We'll ask him. I think it's always a fun matchup, right? And it happens a lot nowadays with the transfer portal, that guys are running into their old teammates and seeing them, because of so much roster turnover everywhere. But we haven't talked about ODU with our guys just yet, because we haven't had a chance to meet with them, being Monday. But we'll put the Saturday's game behind us, learn from that, bridge the gap from things that are going to translate and carry over to ODU. But I'll definitely ask him, what his experience was with him. But I can tell you, man, he is an elite offensive rebounder. Any guy that can go get 17 and 18 rebounds in general in a game is really special. And then when he can get, 4 a game, I think he got 9 offensive rebounds in one single game. That's pretty incredible. So I'll take any, hints that Elijah may have to help us do a better job keeping him off the glass from his experience at Austin Peay with him.
I think it was a couple weeks ago, Coach O was women's basketball had a similar sort of Wednesday game and then Saturday, and Coach O was just kind of raving about how better that is preparation-wise. Could you talk a little bit about kind of the advantages of having that extra day in between the 2 games this week?
Yeah, I think it helps you a little bit, right? It kind of, once you get into a routine of Thursday, Saturday, now it does kind of throw you off just a bit, right? Because we're going to do some things in today's practice that we otherwise normally wouldn't do, right? But at the same time, we've still got things that we would do on every Monday. So I do think in terms of prep and rest, it can certainly help you. And, for the biggest challenge for me as a coach in the Sun Belt, and in any league like the one I was in before where you're playing Thursday, Saturdays, is oftentimes what you have to do to win that game on Thursday can be drastically different from what you need to do on Saturday. And so it's very hard with that preparation, especially when there might be travel in between, or you don't really want to go live on that Friday, right? You're very limited as to how much usage and mileage you want to put on the guys' legs. So playing Wednesday to Saturday maybe offers you an opportunity to get some more live reps on what could be a very different game plan going into a game on Saturday than it was on Wednesday. So advantages there.
Then, going back on the road, still looking for that first road win. What's kind of the mentality you want your guys to have, especially since, after so much frustration on the road?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with where we're at right now. I had to remind myself, and really my staff did. They do a great job of my main focus every year, and I've probably gotten away from it just a bit with this group, is getting better, and being very process oriented. And I think as you look back at our performances last week here at home against Marshall and App State, we got a lot better. And did we, finish the Marshall game exactly the way that we had wanted? We did not, but we finished it better than we did a week ahead of time, right? Did we, come out on the right side of the App State game? We did not. But we certainly did a lot of things better than we did a week ahead of that. And so that's kind of where we're at with this team and being very process-oriented. And so using that as a confidence booster to let them know what's been missing on the road. The last time we spoke in here, we talked about, why is it that we haven't done a great job on the road? And I think it's been our connectivity. I think it's been our energy for one another. And so bringing that up, drawing attention to it, and giving our guys the confidence that the things that we weren't great at last week, we got better with. And we've got to give that the attention that we need right now, and that's every rep, right? So when you start practice, and you got to have great energy for each other. You got to build that habit just like you would, being great with your closeouts or anything else. And giving that the attention that it needs and the confidence from the things that we are doing a better job of going into this road swing is going to be important. We don't want to add any more pressure to them and say, man, we got to win a road game. They know we haven't won a road game, but they need to know why, and they also need to know that the reason is certainly within our control and is fixable. And let's address it and let's fix it just like the problems we did last week.
Wrapping up the App State game, what did the film show you? Obviously, we talked afterwards, but as you dove into the film, what did the film show you from the App State loss?
We did a lot of really good things. I think, we showed that we can really hone in and take away a premier player like C.J. Huntley. We hold him to 7 points and just did a phenomenal job on him. That the tempo that we've been playing with as of late is beneficial for us. It gives us a better chance to win. And then we showed some flashes of really sharing the basketball like we're capable of. And then we would revert back a few possessions later and not do that quite as well. So those were the biggest takeaways. And so it's being consistent, being a team that really elevates each other, shares the ball, and complements one another on the offensive end. And then the same thing on the defensive end. I felt like we probably had 6 or 7 just straight communication errors. That's blown coverages just with lack of communication that could be better. That you clean up 2 of those, you win the game. And that goes with us having poor shooting performances from a few guys and things like that, So getting them to understand that the offensive side is certainly, got a lot to get better, but we did some really good things. Let's be consistent. Let's, continue to invest in these things and do them more frequently. And then on the defensive side of the ball, these mistakes, they really mount up. We had fewer mistakes, but really selling out to say, hey, this mistake right here, we don't make it, we probably win the game, even if we do, miss X amount of shots.
Sticking with the defensive side, the defensive three-point field goal percentage now has crawled up to opponents shooting 39% against you in conference play from the arc. Marshall, obviously, a couple weeks ago, shot really well. App did the other night. What is it about defending the three-point line that you got to get better at?
It's a number of things, right? Because as we were going through the non-conference, our three-point field goal percentage defense was great, right? And so it was our 2-point field goal percentage that was really hurting us. It was the discrepancy on points in the paint and points at the foul line. And so giving that the attention that we needed, we've certainly gotten better with it. What's come with it? There's been some let up on the 3-point field goal percentage defense a little bit, right? So I think we just got to do a better job of understanding, building our defense from the inside out, protecting the paint, and then being a little bit tighter with our closeouts, sprinting into our gaps, not over-helping. I thought we had some over-helps in this game that really hurt us. And so it's figuring out, how tightly can, my teammate guard the ball without needing too much help from me, and applying personnel as to, who am I helping off of. And, those are adjustments. Those are things that as you give attention to one particular area of your defense, sometimes the other one kind of goes away a little bit. So we're hitting the point in the season now where we need to combine the two of those, and I think we can make those adjustments to do it.
And then on the flip side, you've struggled to shoot the ball from three, under 30% now. Are you liking the shots you're getting? Again, it's kind of a game-by-game thing. You had good looks against App State. What do you feel about that right now, about the shots you're getting from three-point? Are you shooting too many? Are they good enough shots right now?
I wouldn't say that we're shooting too many. I would say that we're shooting some rushed ones. We're probably taking average shots when we could pass them up and get some even better shots for one another. So it comes in waves. I think when you're playing from behind too, it's a little bit more difficult to really put your finger on, is this a great shot? Because it's, in relation to what the score and the time is at the moment. But I think our passing's got to be better, I think we showed great flashes of, getting our feet into the paint, making the defense collapse, kicking it out, playing off shot fakes, getting an extra drive, playing off 2 feet, relocating, and getting great shots. When we do that, then we can be a high-volume shooting team from the three, and we're going to make a high percentage of them. But it's cutting down on the quick contested ones. We took some off the bounce the other night. I didn't really like early. We had a 0 pass possession, which is just not going to be good for us. I thought Elijah took too many, right? I don't know that there's a scenario where, because he's a good shooter, right? And I think he's hurt his percentage as of late, because there's not a scenario where he shouldn't go 0 for 4 in a game. We'd allow him to go 0 for 2, but he can impact the game in so many other ways that he doesn't have to settle for that. So he is a very good shooter. We just need him to be a little bit more selective and give himself the time to do that. And then his percentage along with ours will creep back up.
We talked a little bit about him on Saturday, but he just had only two 2-point field goal attempts. Is that a situation where it's probably twofold, where the guys need to look for him more, but he probably needs to be more aggressive and assertive to call for the ball, doesn't he?
He does. And, again, when you're playing with a big guy who can impact the game on the inside, you can't expect them to do it all on their own, right? Your guards have to be great with their execution, with their screening, with their passing and delivery, and then their post spacing against a blitz, which he's seeing nearly every game. Then it becomes his part to command and get the ball, to receive it, and then play with some great pace. And I think that's where he struggled the past couple games, is getting in a bit of a hurry, defense collapsing on him, and because he is a very good passer, but I think his process of his ability to process the defense and recognize where it's coming from is being sped up right now. And it's something that we can control with our post spacing, getting him to really, process, hey, let me chin and check the ball, old school, see where things are coming from right here, and then make the right play, because he's shown throughout the season that when he does see different blitz coverages and double teams in the post, he can certainly exploit those and make the right play. He's got to be able to slow down to do that. And those are things that we can help him with, things that he needs to do, but certainly the positioning and getting the touches and the usage in the post is going to be on the rest of our guys to make sure they're executing and delivering him the ball.
And you mentioned earlier the pace of play for you guys. It's been a little different the last couple of
Yep.
games. And fans probably don't notice it, but you guys are a little more deliberate. Do you like what you've seen so far out of that?
I do. I think we probably, from a misconception standpoint, I think we might have thought, hey, we got enough depth and we can play really fast with this team. And there are times where when we have an advantage transition, I think we're phenomenal. We're electric, and we can really spray the ball around and get great shots. It's when we don't have those advantage transitions that oftentimes our transition offense can be more beneficial for the other team. So being a little bit more selective and precise as to how we attack a non-advantage transition has been better for us. And what's that do? It slows you down just a bit, right? And then the pace of play, the pace of the game for both teams goes down just a little bit, and probably allows us to minimize our defensive mistakes because we're not wearing ourselves down on the offensive side. The hard part of that is it really puts a lot of pressure on your offensive execution. So when you're not playing physical and screening and you hold the ball an extra second, you're really missing those opportunities, and you've got to capitalize on those. And those are the things we've got to get better with as we've kind of decreased our pace of play over the past few games.
At the beginning of the season, you and your guys were really talking about a lot of the efforts you guys were making off the court to really kind of bond as a unit. And I'm just kind of curious, especially with so many highs and lows this season, how has that bond kind of continued to grow through this adversity you guys have been facing recently?
I think it's really, I don't know that we've seen immense benefit in the win-loss column from it, but certainly just the culture around the facility in the locker room with the guys has been much more positive. I think, hitting those tough moments has made the guys realize how much they need each other, and just how important this season needs to be to everybody. And we've definitely seen growth in that area. I think guys have seen a noticeable difference in guys holding each other accountable, and that's probably what's been missing from this team a lot, right? I think it's very cliche, but it's very true. It's a very common statement. I shouldn't say cliche, but it's very true that a player-led team is better than a coach-led team. And so that's where they're making strides to say, hey, coaches have been on us about this. At some point, we've got to take the ownership and get on each other, and then receive, that criticism from one another. So we've seen a lot of growth in that area over the past few weeks, especially since we've gotten back from Christmas. And I do believe we continue with the progress we've had in that. We're going to see a lot of positives come from it.